Welcome back to How to Get Away with Plunder. I'm Nana Tamaray.
And I'm Rain Tolentino. Thank you for tuning in again.
In our previous episode, we talked about plunder cases in the Philippines and how they can drag on for years. So, long enough for the public to lose interest or the accused to regain power. So today, we're going to be looking even deeper. This time, we're going to be looking at the law itself and the loopholes that make plunder cases incredibly hard to win and why.
To help us unpack the technical side of this, we invited someone who understands how plunder cases rise and fall in court. Joining us today is Dr. Dennis Coronacion, the UST Political Science Chairperson. Thank you po for being here.
Hello po, Doc.
Thank you for having me.
How are you po?
Well, I'm okay. Thank you.
Yung sa political science po, since you're chairperson po there, like what subjects po do you teach?
Purely major subjects. Although in the past, I used to teach minor or gen ed subjects like the Constitution. And right now, I'm teaching one class at the CICS. I'm teaching them contemporary world.
Gaano po kayo ka-familiar po sa plunder cases in the Philippines?
Well, not so much with the legal aspect, but as to how our politicians are committing the crime of plunder, and of course the penalty and the process that they have to go through once cases were filed against them.
So, familiar naman po kayo dun sa isa po sa mga talked about na requirements ng plunder law, yung 50 million peso threshold.
Yes, 50 million at least, 50 million.
So, how does the 50 million peso threshold normally save public officials from being indicted of plunder?
Well, usually kasi in a criminal case, kasi if I'm not mistaken, since this is a special law, it treats plunder somewhat as one of the crimes related to one of the acts that is considered as a crime. So, and usually under the Philippine criminal system, there are requirements for a crime to be considered as something that's committed. So, may mga elements. Tinuturo yan sa law school, and one of the elements under the plunder law is that there should be a threshold, as you mentioned, a minimum amount that should have been plundered, that should have been pocketed by a public official for it to be considered plunder.
Do you think po it's time for the government to consider amending the threshold?
Well, I don't know what the reason was when the law was enacted. Yung mga drafters, ito yung mga sponsors, authors. I don't know what they had in mind, why they chose 50 million as the threshold. Pero if we're really after promoting public interest, I think it should be lowered down. So as to serve as a deterrent for those public officials who are being tempted to commit that crime.
When it's anything lower, what is it considered?
I heard of a proposal that says lower it to 20 to 25 million. So as kasi we have a lot of officials na kumbaga it's part of their prerogative or power to approve disburse millions of pesos. Kasi if you go higher, baka mamaya konti lang yung officials na pwedeng ma-file ng plunder. If you go lower naman, mas dadami yung yung pwedeng ma-cover ng proposed amendment doon sa na yun. So I am in favor of lowering it, but as to the exact amount, I haven't thought of it kung dapat ba 20 million, 25 million. The thing is, it also goes with there is another element that you have to consider, or component. And once you are charged with it, even though it's not proven yet, hindi ka pa na-convict, there is going to be a warrant of arrest that will be issued against you as an accused. and you are not allowed to post bail. So meaning to say, for while the court is hearing your case, you will remain in detention.
So, isa pa pong key feature ng plunder law is the requirement that corruption must be done through a series of combination of acts. So, one single transaction may not qualify unless it involves multiple distinct means. If you were to steal billions from the nation, ano po yung loopholes in this particular requirement do you think would save you from a plunder case?
Okay, sorry.
Ano po siya? Parang hypothetical po.
Um,
Parang halimbawa po, kung kayo po, nagkaroon po kayo ng plano po na to steal billions from a nation or even like from here, ano po yung particular loopholes na gagamitin ninyo para po
para makalusot.
makalusot po kayo?
Okay, let's see.
Kasi ano po 'di ba, parang yung isa po sa mga requirements para ma-consider siyang plunder, dapat a series or combination of acts. So parang paano niyo
Hindi
po
siya one time,
ano yun?
big time.
Apo.
Dapat.
Kasi stealing 50 million is not that easy.
Apa.
You need to have co-conspirators that may makasabot ka, and that for them not to squeal, they should have a considerable amount of share. Oo, hindi yung ikaw lang masaya, tapos yung mga kasamahan mo, barya lang yung napunta sa kanila. So if that's going to happen, sila yung unang magsusumbong doon sa plunder na ginawa mo. So, kung ako yung perpetrator ng crime na yun, what would I do? Siguro, I would look for family members or friends who would be willing to... Siyempre, at the end of the day, may mapupunta sa aking pera eh. At least 50 million. So, siguro... hati-hati
Gulat
ko.
po si Doc.
May mga ako eh. Kasi usually, yung good side ngayon, criminal ako. Okay? Baka meron akong kukutsubahin ng mga kamag-anak, mga kaibigan na trustworthy. Tapos i-spread ko yung gagamitin ko sila as decoys or proxies. Oo. Tapos if ever, yung amount na mapupunta sa bank accounts ko, the amount should be lower than 50 million. Oo. Para hindi ako pumasok sa plunder. Magka-qualify lang siya sa a regular corrupt act. Oo. So, corruption lang siya, regular corruption case. Pero kung plunder kasi nakakatakot doon is no bail. Plus the penalty, parang alam ko sobrang if you are convicted of that crime, sobrang tagal nung years of imprisonment.
Opo. Very, very long. So mga sa mga kamag-anak at at mga estudyante ni Doc, huwag kayo mag-alala. Hypothetical lang to.
Pero wait lang just recently merong Supreme Court ruling na na-detect na nila yung ganyan klaseng style. So, during the course of the trial, they would find a way to find out if the money that were deposited o kaya mga assets and properties that had been placed under the name of your close relatives ay totoong sa'yo talaga. O may bago lang just recently, for a few days ago. So ingat din.
Uy, narinig naman talaga mag-ingat. Actually, in relation po to that, kasi isa rin po sa key features ng law is that kailangan merong pattern kapag tinatry nilang ma-catch in the act yung taong nag-plunder. Do you think na the whole concept of there having to be a pattern is more of a benefit for the judges, like the people handling the case, or for yung mga officials? Kasi it gives them more of like an out, di ba? Kapag hindi po sila nahanapan ng pattern, ganun, makakalusot po sila agad.
Yes, kasi actually yung plunder naman, it's based on it was built on previous behaviors. So behaviors that previously manifested doon sa mga corrupt officials natin. So paano ba sila nagnanakaw sa gobyerno? Usually may may mga patterns. Kagaya halimbawa nito sa dito sa yung flood control projects natin. It started with the NEP. So yung NEP yung proposal kasi nasa executive department yan. So we're talking here of government agencies, national government agencies. So, meron na silang proposal na like mga items na pwedeng pagmulan ng kurakot. Sila na yung mag-identify ng mga projects. Tapos ilalapit nila doon yun sa mga mambabatas, either congressman or senators. Tapos, i-adapt nila yung mga senators and congressmen. Ipapasok nila, ipapasa nila yon. Pag once na ipasa na, implementation na yung kasunod. So, ito na yung, kikilos na yung mga national government agencies upang gawing pera. So, ida-download na nila yung pera, yung budget that's allotted for these items, and doon na paghati-hatian. So, they do this every year, tuwing budget process period. Oo. So, yun, meron mga patterns. And easily detectable yan. And paulit-ulit kasi nga pattern. So, and you can see kung paano sila yumayaman.
Ano po yung mga ilan sa pinaka-distinct na pattern po, especially po dun sa mga recent or mga well-known na cases po dito sa Pilipinas?
I think na-establish na yung pattern kagaya nung kay itong nangyayari sa flood control project. Similar, may parallelism doon sa ginawa ni Janet Napoles back in 2013. Ganun din, ghost projects. But at that time, hindi naman ang target ay mga hindi infrastructure projects. Mga halo-halo, may mga tawag dito, mga social development projects, mga NGOs ang ginawa nila na magki-cater sa needs ng mga mahihirap, ganyan-ganyan. And yung budget allotted for that, napunta sa mga ghost projects. So, usually ganun may middle person na mag-uugnay doon sa mga lawmakers natin kasi sa kanila magagaling yung budget, sila mag-approve Tapos meron ng isang kagaya ni Janet Napoles na nakaisip ng isang project o mga projects na pwedeng gastusan ng budget. And doon na ngayon siya na ang maghahati-hati. The same goes for the DPWH. Except that dito mga national agencies ang involved at meron silang connection with the lawmakers.
If ever po parang tanggalin yung mga ganitong klaseng conditions, yung dapat merong series or combination of acts, merong pattern, will it be easier for a corrupt politician, a plunderer, to be jailed for plunder? Or would it be harder kasi parang wala na po silang parang basis?
You mean, kahit wala silang basis, very creative sila Because we have to take note that after the 2013 PDAF scandal, the Supreme Court issued a ruling prohibiting yung pork barrel. Kasi at that time, even before that time, yung pork barrel was part of the norm. Meaning to say, ito yung budget allotment para sa mga distrito ng mga congressmen at saka mas malaki sa mga senators because they are representing the entire Philippines. So yung nire-represent mo, bibigyan ka ng budget for development ng iyong distrito. Now, over the years nakita na this pork barrel had been subjected to abuse. So tinanggal ng Supreme Court yung pinagbawal. So wala na dapat pattern. Kasi binawal na. Kaso they found a way to circumvent the Supreme Court ruling. Instead na ang pork barrel kasi i-allot yan sa individuals, sa mga individual senators, individual congressmen. This time around, after the Supreme Court ruling, ang allotment na ng budget sa agencies na. Oo. Nakaisip sila ng paraan na magkakaroon pa rin ng kickback yung mga congressmen and senators kahit sa agencies naka-allot yung budget. Oo. So, kumbaga man, may share ako dyan kasi ako yung naglakad na ipasaya. So, ganun, parang kahit tanggalan mo ng mga models, mga previous models, they could still find a way as to how to circumvent the new policies o yung mga anti-corruption measures.
So, ano po yung point po nung, yung paglagay ng dapat may pattern, dapat series or combination, kung palagi naman po nilang nasa-circumvent?
Siguro it's, gaya nga sabi ko, once they have committed an act, yung first act nila, once nakita nilang kumita sila doon sa bago nilang ginawa, I'm pretty sure na the following year is going to be repeated and repeated the next year and the next year. So na-establish yung pattern. Kasi once na na-establish mo na, ganito pala kumita ng pera sa gobyerno, ulit-ulitin mo na lang yan. Kagaya halimbawa during the investigation for this ghost project sa Bulacan, yung previous year, hindi na booking. Alam mo kung magkano doon sa isang ghost project? It was, the amount that was earmarked was 250 million. Hindi siya na booking. Hindi siya na-discover. So the following year, mas nilakihan nila. It's 500 million na. Doon lang na booking kasi there was no project doon sa site, and yet, nag-increase pa yung budget. So, that itself is a pattern. Same location or site, same people na nag-propose ng project, tapos same scheme, pero nag-iba lang yung amount kasi naging greedy. Kasi ganun pag hindi mo nabubuking, hindi nabubuking ang isang krimen, mas lalong lumalakas ang loob.
So, ganun pala guys. Huwag kayong maging complacent. Kaya na.
So, may iba naman po tayo. Bakit po sa mga plunder cases, kailangan ng main plunderer? Merong kumbaga pong isang sisisihin na parang mastermind.
Actually, sa mga krimen, ganyan lalo na pag it's a crime committed through conspiracy. Hindi kaya isang tao lang. A plunder is always committed with the cooperation coming from other, those other individuals who are involved. It cannot be carried out by one person alone. Kasi kinakailangan ng pirma ni ganyan, ni-approve ni ganitong officer, ni ganyan. So, it's always carried out by a group. Ngayon, sa group na yan, there's always a mastermind. Otherwise, if all of them are to be treated equal, pantay-pantay sila in terms of status, mag-aaway-away yan. So, meron dapat isang respectable individual, public official, well-respected, mataas yung kanyang stature and status, mga senator, ganyan. Tapos siya yung magkukumpas. Siya yung magsasabi kung ano yung role ng bawat isa. Oo. At kung magkano matatanggap ng bawat isa. Kaya there's always a mastermind. Ganun din sa mga regular crimes. Halimbawa, pinagnakawan yung isang bahay, pero marami. Tapos magkakaiba ng role. May lookout, mayroong magagapos sa mga yung nakatira sa bahay, may tatawag, may kanya-kanyang roles
We went from how to get away with plunder to how to get away with akyat bahay. Pero parang when it comes to the concept of having a mastermind or a main plunderer, lalo na po dito sa ganito, yung parang kaso na siya, tas pinoprocess na siya ng courts, don't you think na the concept po of having a main plunderer kind of gives higher officials, yung mastermind, more of a chance to get away with it? Kasi parang yung mangyayari po, di ba, parang yung mga mas mababa po, ginamit na lang po niya na parang pawn, ganun po.
There is that possibility, no? Lalo na in this issue of flood control projects. Itong mga senators, tsaka mga congressmen, makikita mo that while committing the Plunder Act, hindi sila nakapirma. There is no hard evidence that can link them to the crime. Oo, paano lang yan? Pa-text lang yan, pa-message, a Viber. Pero there is no document that can connect them with the crime. Oo, makikita mo wala silang mga... Kasi, sino mga pumipirma dito sa flood control projects? It's the DPWH officials and the contractors. Kasi nagbibidding yan nag-hold ng bidding, may mga documents dyan, may mga pirmahan, may contract, and nowhere can you see in any of these documents a signature coming from one of our senators or congressmen. Wala, hindi sila pipirma dyan. Saan yung role nila? Nandoon sa lawmaking process because the national budget is considered a law. Batas yan So nandun lang sila. So they can easy, kapag in-accuse sila, teka lang, wala akong role dyan. Pinasa ko lang yung batas. Pero hindi ako nakinabang dyan. Diba? So ang galing, they have an easy way out.
So, alam nyo na, kapag gusto nyo mag-plunder, disappearing messages, Viber is the key.
Dapat encrypted. May ganon. So, considering po, like, all of these laws as well as the loopholes that we discussed, and all of yung mga countermeasures nga po na pwedeng gamitin ng mga officials. How easy is it really to get away with plunder in the Philippines?
For the high-ranking officials, it's very easy. Kaya nga if we are looking for ways to catch them, I think number one, we have to include in technology. Kasi I think at that time when the anti-plunder law was enacted, parang hindi pa ganun ka-high-tech eh. Ewan ko may Viber na noon na. Tsaka may mga disappearing messages. Tsaka yung kasi may nagsasuggest dapat daw yung body cam. Kasi sa bicameral conference committee, hindi recorded yung mga pinag-uusapan. Eh baka mamaya nagbulungan yung isang congressman tsaka yung senator, dagdagan na mag-insert tayo. Hindi recorded yon. Oo. So ang may nagsuggest dapat daw body cam. Para pag nagbulungan sila, sabi na mag-insert tayo ng 50 million or 100 billion. Ano record? Oo. So yun, use of technology, i-update. So, if ever that law is going to be amended, samahan na ng ganyan, ng technology. Plus, yung all the things, total, nagkaroon na ng Senate investigation and congressional investigation in aid of legislation yan eh. That's the real purpose. Baka may nakita silang loopholes, isama na nila sa amendment.
How long do you think po the government will take before we can really improve on the corruption issue in the Philippines? Kasi parang, ongoing problem naman po siya.
Oh yes, long time ago na yan, since time immemorial. Pero, since you're asking about that, let's try to distinguish between yung mga low-lying fruits, meaning to say, easy to implement. Oo. Halimbawa, isa sa mga low-lying fruits in terms of combating corruption, yung bang naging lax yung COA, Commission on Audit. Pero yung mga nag-audit lang sila ng mga projects na yan nung tapos na. Samantalang ang alam ko progress billing yan eh. Babayaran ng gobyerno yung contractors. Every time they would achieve a significant progress. O halimbawa, kalahati kalahati ng dike na-construct na namin, magbibuild na kami. Dapat may mag-i-inspect. Diba? It's not just the DPWH kasi nga ka-connive sila. Dapat yung COA rin. May site inspection. Or a representative from Malacanang. Diba? Coming from DBM. Gawing part ng regular procedure yon. So, tapos yung oversight function ng Senado tsaka ng House. Naging lax din yon, nawala rin yon. Dahil nga everybody happy, lahat nakikinabang. Wala na. Yung natin, Committee on Infrastructure ba yon? Wala, naging lax sila. Oo, so ayusin yung yung oversight function, ibalik yung pagiging stricto. Yun yung mga low-lying fruits. Meaning to say, hindi mo na kinakailangan mag-amend ng batas o kung magpasa ng batas kasi andyan na. Parang in a matter of siguro several weeks, andyan na yan eh. Kasi meron na tayong mga anti-corruption measures eh. Ang problema lang, dinidisregard kasi nga nakikinabang ang lahat. Ngayon, kasi sa kabilang banda, meron namang mga kinakailangan ng long-term, longer period of time para ma-address yung yung corruption. Example niyan, yung pinapasang anti-dynasty bill. O kasi, pansinin mo, karamihan sa mga involved dito, members ng mga dynasties. Papangalanan pa ba natin?
Nang name drop.
Mga members ng dynasties yan. And based on several studies, ang mga dynasties, members ng dynasties, usually, sila yung pasaway. Ang nagko-commit ng mga wrongdoing sa government. So, ang nakitang solution is ipasa yung anti-dynasty law para mababawasan yung mga pasaway, mababawasan yung corruption. Long term yon. Oo, hindi natin alam kung kailan ipapasa yon. Pero I think at the moment, may initiative na yung administration coalition, yung administration na led by Speaker Boji D. Siya na yata nag-author at nag-sponsor ng bagong anti-dynasty bill. Pero I'm quite sure matatagalan sila dun sa definition ng dynasty. Hindi nila ma-pinpoint kung ano ba dapat ang hanggang saan hangganan. Is it first degree of consanguinity and affinity, second degree ba yan, or third degree? Kasi doon nag-bog down yung yung talks about the anti-dynasty law. Baka doon rin mag-bog down ngayon. Oo, hindi nila malampasan yung ganyang question. Up to what degree of consanguinity and affinity?
Parang ano rin po siya. Actually, napag-usapan po namin somewhat yung ganyang klaseng mga tactic, like pang-delay, is basically like trying to delay it using certain topics na can take really long. Parang yung ganun nga po, yung definition, like, in a way, it's not the most important part, but it also is. So, it's kind of like, nasa-stuck yung mga tao, no, na nadi-discuss until nade-delay na po siya, like, indefinitely.
Oh yes, speaking of delaying investigations, ang tagal. Diba? Ilan na, 3 months na nakalilipas. Pero nga po yung government, bago magpasko, may makukulong. Hinihintay natin yun.
So, moral of the story, guys, kapag meron kayong power, huwag kayong complacent.
So, Doc Cora, thank you po for helping us make sense of the laws that shape our justice system and the gaps that allow corruption to slip through. Fighting corruption isn't just about catching the guilty, but also about strengthening the laws meant to hold them accountable.
In our next and final episode, we'll talk about public memory. See you on the last episode of How to Get Away with Plunder. Thank you po ulit, Doc.
Thank
Thank you
you.
po.
Bye-bye.